Hey, fans of the works, today I have a long episode for you. I've got a bunch of reviews for you, including Eddington, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Fantastic Four, First Steps, The Home, and briefly talking about Sorry Baby, which I'll have a full review for later this week. But before all of that, I wanted to talk about some news going on right here in Long Island that I just feel I can't not talk about anymore. So, without further ado, here's some just local news going on that I thought really deserves some attention. And look, I get it. If you guys are just here for the entertainment reviews, by all means, I'll be posting those in separate clips. Go check them out. The moment that we're in right now demands that we all take a step back, pay some attention, and stand by the values that are instilled in us. For me, both congressmen to my east and west are not doing that. I wanted to talk about them. And they're of both parties, and they're both really disappointing. So, first I wanted to talk about Congressman Nick LaLota. He's a Republican. He's the congressman for New York District 1. Recently, he voted yes on Trump's big, beautiful bill. Among other things, 96,000 Long Islanders are now at risk of losing their health care coverage. A total of 1.5 million New Yorkers will now be at risk of no health care coverage. This is going to lead to overflows in hospital rooms and emergency rooms across the country, much less New York. He also voted to cut SNAP benefits with this vote, depriving our underprivileged children and seniors basic food services that they've paid for their entire lives through their taxes. Same with the health care coverage, the Medicaid coverage. Those are called entitlements because we are entitled to them because we paid for them with our taxes throughout our entire life. That's why we should be allowed to have them. And they're also, just to be clear, not contributing to the national debt. But neither here nor there. There's so much lies around what's going on right now that, I understand that even for, people that are kind of tuned into politics, it's hard to keep up. But, the one thing that I really wanted to mention here is that, Congressman Nick LaLota, he hasn't held a town hall since September of last year, since September 2024, meaning that we're coming up on a year since he has directly addressed his constituency. I think if he's going to be making such huge votes, to essentially starve our children and seniors, right, and make sure that they get sick and die faster, he should not be a coward and tell us why he voted for that. Because based on his social media, it's a bit hard to determine what Long Islanders are going to be getting out of that vote, outside of losing services. And of course, I know the bill affects so much more than just locally by me, of course. I know that there's, hundreds of counties across the country that are going to be feeling this bill much worse than here in New York. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about it or let him get away with this type of fundamentally inhumane vote. Because what it's really going to do is it's going to lead to death, and it's going to lead to sickness, and it's going to lead to poorer households, missing meals. It's going to lead to just real economic problems for many people in and around Long Island. And he's just fine with that. He's so cool with that. So listen, if you're like me and you think that that's just totally unacceptable, please do me a favor and call his office at 631-289-1097. I've called 4 times asking for a town hall, maybe even 5 now, and they're just not adding it to the system, and we need more people asking for that. And considering that Congress just went on hiatus because they were too scared to release the Epstein files because our president is a child fucker, he should have all the time in the world to schedule this town hall and talk to his constituency, since they are too afraid to tell the truth about the president molesting children. So please give that number a call. I have it right here in the description as well. Just ask him, hey, when's your next town hall? Can you please schedule it? Because we really want to talk to you. Be really polite about it. Don't be disrespectful. Just because he wants to kill our seniors and our kids doesn't mean that we should be mean to him, because, we wouldn't want him to be too scared to hold another town hall, because, he's a bit of a snowflake, that's just what it seems like to me. Speaking of snowflakes, though, oh boy, let's talk about Dino Representative Tom Suozzi. Now, Dino Tom Suozzi, who I canvassed for, by the way. With Republicans, it's like, I know where you stand. You are non-empathetic and you hate people and you only care about yourselves. Suozzi is an interesting case because he likes to promote the idea that he is empathetic and, his policies aren't cruel, and he believes in democratic ideals. But the problem is that he doesn't lead that way. So just in the last couple months, I want to talk about some of the things that I've seen out of his office, because, boy, do they suck. So, he's come out fully against Zoran Mamdani, which, first off, why? You are not even in New York City. You are not even... You're a congressman. You have nothing to do with Zoran Mamdani. This Zoran Mamdani, he's got the most votes in a Democratic primary in history for New York mayor. He's, pretty much a shoo-in to win at this point, unless everybody jumps on the Cuomo bandwagon. Good luck with that one, guys. Clearly the base wants Zoran there. And Suozzi has come out, and, he believes that Zoran's policies like free public transportation or free public college are, quote-unquote, utopian. These policies are not utopian. They're already active in multiple cities across the globe, including 2 right here in America. See, the problem is that Tom doesn't think that the excess is at the top. Tom believes, like the Republicans, that the poorest folks on the bottom, they're the ones that are making American life harder. And to give them anything as mere as public transportation would just be too much. See, the real reason Dino Rep Tom Suozzi is against Zoran is because he actually doesn't serve his constituency. Since Tom has taken office, he's voted with the Republicans multiple times to help promulgate their lies. He censured Al Green, trying to defend Medicaid, which has now been effectively gutted. 11 million Americans are now at risk of losing health care coverage, 1.5 million New Yorkers, 96,000 Long Islanders. He voted to support ICE raids, the same ICE raids that are destroying Long Island families, breaking up children from their parents, deporting nonviolent undocumented workers from the United States. But I think most enlightening was his vote in that same stretch to condemn all the anti-Semitism going on. And yes, as a young Jewish man, I really do feel all the anti-Semitism going on. It is so anti-Jew to say that Benjamin Netanyahu, a man who has been indicted by the International Criminal Court as a war criminal, who has killed more than 250 aid workers and more than 100 journalists, and several thousand innocent Palestinians, and several thousand innocent people in the West Bank. You're right, it is very, very anti-Semitic to address that. That is very, very bad. It is so horrible to correctly identify what the Israeli government is doing, which is a genocide. Tom Swazi has he's very concerned with that. Or maybe it's because Tom Swazi has accepted more than $300,000 from AIPAC. See, that's the thing. Is Tom Swazi, he might be the head of the Problem Solvers Caucus, but he is actually the problem. By accepting money from a foreign entity, he has exposed himself as being their representative. That's why he doesn't like Zoran. That's why he sits there and condemns all the anti-Semitism going on in New York. You know, the most Jewish city in America that voted overwhelmingly for Zoran Mamdani, who's supposedly anti-Jew. He doesn't care that if you believe in the democratic ideology, the progressive wing of the party is the logical follow-through of those ideas. He doesn't care. He would rather spend your tax dollars killing children, condemning his own party, wherever they speak up against the abomination going on in the White House right now. I think New York District 3 needs to do some soul-searching here, because Tom Swazi's not a Democrat. You know, he's just playing one on TV. But, you know, when he sits there and accepts $300,000 from AIPAC, what he's saying is he doesn't actually believe in democratic ideals. He believes that money should be in politics. He believes that it's okay to take money from huge entities that, you know, normal people like his constituency can't compete with. He believes that, you know, re-election is the most important part of his job. He doesn't care that you just lost healthcare coverage, or that, you know, doing something as simple as making the bus fare free in New York City would be a huge benefit to so many people. He just wants you to go fuck yourself. That's what he wants. I just think that, especially the Democratic Party, could be doing better than that. You know, if you want to call Tom Swazi's office, let's get his number up. So if you want to call Tom Swazi and just, you know, say, hey, why are you secretly a Republican lately? His phone number is 516-861-1070. If he doesn't change his tune and start acting like an actual Democrat, I will not be canvassing for him again. I will be canvassing for his more progressive primary challenge, whoever it may be. Let's hope he actually starts leading, because Swazi has an opportunity here to be a much better leader than he is. It's so disheartening and scary and sad, and we need to be doing better here. Guys, I'm so sorry that I had to bring the room down like that, but don't worry. I have a ton of reviews for you. Let's just keep things just political just for a second. Let's talk about Eddington. So Eddington is rated R. It's 2 hours and 28 minutes. It's produced by A24. It's a very dark comedy and kind of a Western. It's written and directed by Ari Aster, one of the most anxious filmmakers of all time, and it stars Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, and Emma Stone. I guess if you're looking for the exact, I know I'm a little bit late on this review, but if you're looking for like the exact opposite of I Know What You Did Last Summer or The Home, then look no further than Eddington, the fictional town in the middle of the desert of New Mexico, and the new film by writer-director Ari Aster. This is a director who made a quick name for himself. He burst onto the scene with his masterful debut horror film, Hereditary, in 2018. He followed that up with Midsommar, a cult horror film that was really good, albeit not as strong as his first. His third film, Beau is Afraid, was an anxious, overly ambitious comedy that was too long and a bit too messy for most. Aster has worked exclusively with A24, and there's no question why. The company seemingly has no intention of reining in Aster's creative vision whatsoever. Even after Beau is Afraid bombed at the box office, his senior film, Eddington, could have given us anything, and in fact, gives us everything. Maybe too much. Joe Cross, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is Eddington's sheriff. It's a couple weeks into the COVID-19 pandemic, and tensions around town are high. The liberals are insistent on wearing masks everywhere you go, and Sheriff Cross doesn't believe there is any reason for the N95s. Mayor Ted Garcia, Pedro Pascal, who is running for re-election on a pro-tech platform and mask mandate, is kind of at odds with the sheriff. And after an altercation at the grocery store, Joe Cross goes on a social media to rant and announce that he is now challenging Mayor Garcia and is running for mayor on an anti-mask mandate. This comes as a surprise to his wife, Louise, Emma Stone, and her mother, Dawn, Deirdre O'Connell. From how it has been marketed, one might think this is a competition movie between two men vying for the same office. Instead, it is really a character study in online isolationism and how it breaks down the minds of even the most well-intentioned people. This is very much Joaquin's movie, and it's the better for it. He is magnetic. He is impossible to look away from. The guy is such a talented actor. It is just hard to imagine how he has so much personality in that head. Eddington is a pretty unexpectedly funny movie. The dark satire of both political spectrums is sure to inflame both sides. No one is safe from Astor's cynical worldview. Many will see their own actions reflected on the screen and may be offended. The movie could either do really well just out of controversy alone, or maybe not. It's hard to say. I was watching Adam Does Movies review of this movie, and he had questioned who the audience is for Eddington. And my answer for him is, I think anyone who's frustrated with both political parties. You know, because I think the movie satirizes both sides so well that anybody who's frustrated with either side is gonna have something to laugh at, even if they don't laugh at every depiction of the political spectrum. I think what is clear to me, though, is Ari Aster may have made my favorite film of the year so far. Eddington is the first film I've seen to really address the current political moment America is living through. It doesn't shy away from sensitive topics like Black Lives Matter, or COVID-19 mask mandates, police brutality, online radicalization, and even elections in America. It really attacks everything, and you will not agree with all of it no matter which side you're on. What I think is so brilliant in Astor's work is his ability to hide details in the background. The final showdown is as nail-biting and terrifying as it is hilarious, but it only makes sense if you have paid attention to all of the signs and advertisements throughout the picture. Look away for too long and you'll return to a different movie. Astor is able to shift the direction of Eddington on a dime, and it's impossible to predict where it's heading, and all the more shocking when it arrives. It's hard to say how audiences will receive this movie, but I absolutely loved it. And I think if you're overwhelmed by the state of politics in America right now, this is a great movie to laugh at and relive some of that tension in a kind of less threatening way. So I give this 4.5 stars out of 5. Check this out before it leaves theaters, or once it does leave theaters, be sure to stream it. I think it's a really fun picture. Just go into it with the sense that, you know, it's kind of trying to poke buttons at everyone. You know, don't feel singled out, because it's not singling you out. It's got everybody on the list. So definitely give it a look. You know, definitely give that a watch. I really, really enjoyed it. Next one I want to talk about is The Home. The Home is rated R. It's an hour and 37 minutes. It's produced by Block Film and Miramax, and Man on a Tree, or Man in a Tree. It's a horror thriller. It's directed by James DeMonaco and stars Pete Davidson, John Glover, and Bruce Altman. What feels like a lifetime ago, writer-director James DeMonaco burst onto the scene with the Blumhouse-produced box office smash The Purge, starring Ethan Hawke. That film propelled Blumhouse to becoming a household name. It gave them a trademark look. After The Purge, every Blumhouse villain wore masks or donned similar facial features, like The Black Phone, Insidious, Halloween, Happy Death Day to You, or any of the many Purge sequels. I cannot imagine Blumhouse ever attaining the cultural relevancy they achieved at their peak without DeMonaco's Purge films. Which is why it struck me as so peculiar to see DeMonaco's name attached to a horror film Blumhouse didn't produce. The Home is produced by Block Film, Man in a Tree, and Miramax. And to be honest, as popular as the Purge films were, Blumhouse has this problem of draining all of the substance out of a good idea in exchange for more pop-out haunted house scares. The Purge series always frustrated me because it was an idea that could have delivered so much more. It was ripe for biting social commentary, and it was a smorgasbord of potential political metaphors it never fully committed to. A part of me wondered if perhaps, with different producers, DeMonaco might be able to deliver a fully fleshed out, fierce cultural piece of cinema, finally free of the mass appeal restrictions Blumhouse seems to impose on many of their filmmakers. Well, sadly, that isn't what we get. The Home is a difficult movie to talk about because there are a lot of moments that I liked in a relatively underwhelming sea of meh. The screenplay and the idea within it are not as strong as DeMonaco's previous work. Max, Pete Davidson, is a foster child who has been getting in trouble with the law. As punishment, he is forced to do community service by working at a nursing home. At orientation, the rules are clear. Keep the place clean, make sure the old folks are comfortable, and do not go to the 4th floor under any circumstances. Why? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? What is going on the 4th floor? Max walks past at times and could hear screaming from the stairwell or traveling through the vents. Some of the staff seem off. Dr. Savian, Bruce Altman, a world-renowned scientist, tells Max there is nothing to worry about. Well, of course that isn't true, because there wouldn't be a movie otherwise. There is no publicly shared information on the budget of The Home, but whatever it was low. The camera is clearly not industry standard. The shots are framed poorly, like they were trying to squeeze the camera into small spaces. The scares are often ineffective due to predictable edits. To his credit, Pete Davidson, an actor I never associate with serious material, takes the role pretty seriously. He's actually one of the best aspects of this nightmare. Even at 97 minutes, The Home was beginning to feel a bit too long. I nearly got up and left, but I'm glad I didn't. And here's why. The ending. The ending to The Home is one of the most unhinged, hilarious, good time splatterfests I've seen in quite a while. It doesn't totally save this film from drowning under its own ambitions, but it certainly makes the experience worth staying for the entirety of the movie. I'd give The Home 2 out of 5. But if you want to be shrieking with laughter at any point this weekend, the ending of The Home will do that for you. Let's move on to The Fantastic Four: First Steps. This is rated PG-13. It's an hour and 55 minutes. Bless you for not making this over 2 hours. This is obviously produced by Marvel. It's a superhero action-adventure, commercial. Directed by Matt Shakman. It stars Pedro Pascal again, Vanessa Kirby, Eben Moss-Bachrach, and Joseph Quinn. Well, it's been longer than 72 hours since Marvel released a movie, which means, you guessed it, it's time for another one. This time, we are following the third iteration of the Fantastic Four team and taking their first steps toward becoming a major franchise. Like I said in my Superman review, what Marvel has done to cinema is hard for me to forgive, and even harder for me to sit through and watch. They are anathema to every movie that made me the person I am today. Need not say my expectations for a Fantastic Four: First Steps were quite low. And unsurprisingly, actual fans I happened to be sitting next to at the theater agreed with me that their expectations were also low. Considering how many times Marvel has tried to produce the Fantastic Four and failed, even when their studio was good, attempts like Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer quickly ended their plans for a bigger franchise. Could First Steps actually be the thing that brings Fantastic Four to the big screen? It's a film that benefits from our collective low expectations. First Steps takes place on Earth 828, which is what I assume is an alternate universe Earth. They're in a very retro-looking timeline, where their analog devices are advanced enough to talk and walk around. Huge credit to the production designer Kazra Farahani and the entire art team behind this film. It does look awesome. The cast I had thought I had surely seen in these roles before, but this is actually the first time in these suits. I thought they had existed before. This is the first time this team is together. Pedro Pascal, he's totally miscast in this part. He's too old. He's a great actor. I like him a lot. He's just being thrown into everything, and he doesn't belong in this franchise whatsoever. But with that being said, including him, they all do a pretty good job. They all act the parts out pretty well. Where First Steps doesn't work for me, once again, is where every Marvel film fails: the writing. The Fantastic Four are well established on Earth 828, even leading the country through diplomatic talks with other nations. They are very well liked and have been superpowered for years already. We don't see their origin, very similar to how Superman 2025 starts mid-action. Reed Richards, Pedro Pascal, intercepts a transmission from deep space. It's a warning in an alien language. The Silver Surfer, played by Julia Gardner, who... I know there's a lot of talk about the gender swap here. I think Julia Gardner is the best part of this movie. She is awesome as Silver Surfer. Everybody who is complaining about it being a woman needs to shut the fuck up. The Silver Surfer descends onto Earth, and to inform them that they are now been marked for death. Galactus is coming. When I was a kid, I used to play WizKids, and I remember Galactus in that huge WizKid, figure. This is a character I always wanted to see adapted to screen. Director Matt Shakman does an excellent job at establishing the scale of Galactus. He is massive, although I'm still not quite sure how he's capable of eating an entire planet when he's still small enough to fit into Times Square. Whatever. What becomes a problem, and is the problem with all of the movies, is the gaping lack of tension. Let's be real. Johnny, Joseph Quinn, Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby, Ben, Evan, Moss Bachrach, Reed Richards, Pedro Pascal, they're all going to be fine. They're never in any real danger because we know this entire movie is just an ad for the next movie, which we know that they're going to be a part of. There is no suspense because the purpose of these movies isn't to tell a good story, it's to make money. Reed Richards is a genius, right? His plan to save Earth is to transport it away from Galactus. Literally, beam the planet from here to here. Where have I seen this plan before?
We should take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else!
That idea may just be crazy enough to get us all killed!
Ah, that's right. It's the exact same plan Patrick Star has in SpongeBob when the giant worm is heading toward their town. Every time, the studio thinks the only way to make the movie exciting is to be so big, over the top, and just goddamn stupid. I can't help but sink lower and lower in my seat, embarrassed for the fans who just want a good movie. Is Fantastic Four: First Steps bad? No. In fact, I'd say it's among the best of Marvel's 38 commercials in their shared universe. But that still only makes it a good commercial. Like all of their films, the most exciting point for the audience is the end credits scene. Could you imagine if you had walked out of Saving Private Ryan and said, wow, the end credits scene? Like any of the most famous, Forrest Gump. Imagine just going like, wow, that movie was fucking boring, but, when Jenny, did karaoke during the credits, wow, that was great, man. How did we fucking get here? This is why Xanax exists. I can't help but, acknowledge that, the entire time I'm watching this movie, the audience is sitting there on their phone, utterly uninterested in what's going on, because there is nothing really going on. There's no tension drawing their attention. Look, I've basically resigned myself to never getting a real superhero movie ever again. I accept that. I get it. They had an opportunity here, and once again, they just made another infomercial for their catalog of characters with no depth or authenticity to them. I hate Marvel. I hate what they stand for. I hate their movies. I hate everything that they've done since 2008. And, This movie isn't really much of an exception, but at least there's an effort in the art department. 2.5, I guess. Awarding star value to a commercial is like, saying your favorite Super Bowl ad. I just can't believe we're paying $25 per ad. Guys, what are we doing here? What is happening? What the fuck? Last thing I want to talk about, and then I promise I'm done for this week. Like I said, I will have a review for Sorry Baby later this week. But I wanted to, this is already going on over a half hour, so I wanted to keep this episode just slightly reined in. But I did want to talk about this. I Know What You Did Last Summer, the 2025 reboot, remake, rehash. This is rated R. It's an hour and 51. Jesus Christ, it's an hour and 51 minutes. Oh my god. Columbia Picture. This is this is produced by Columbia Pictures, and original film. The I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot is being produced by a company called Original Film. This is a horror thriller slasher. This is directed by Jennifer Caitlin Robinson and stars Madeline Klein, Chase Sue Wonders, and Jonah Hauer-King. I want to put this out there first. If I've seen the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, I've only seen it once because I needed to know the jokes for Scary Movie 1. That's my relationship to the first film. Every July 4th, a group of college friends reunite to celebrate a long-standing tradition of watching the fireworks from the cliffside. When one of the friends steps out into the road, an oncoming vehicle swerves to move out of the way and collides with the guardrail, sending the driver to their suspected death. The group of friends panic and decide to cover up the accident, swearing each other to secrecy. A year later, someone knows. One by one, each of the friends are murdered by a cloaked figure with a metal hook hand. I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 follows the exact same formula as Halloween 2018, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, The Exorcist Believer 2023. They introduce us to a new cast of characters as thin and predictable as ever, repurposes the original concept in a modern setting, and brings back legacy characters from the original series. In this case, it would be Jennifer Love Hewitt reprising her role as Julie James, and two other characters that I won't spoil for you. I Know What You Did Last Summer back in 1997 was never highly rated or adored feature, even at the time of its release. Despite an abysmal score, it has climbed in popularity enough over the years to grant us this reboot. Part of me actually wonders if its popularity has only increased because of how Scary Movie 2000 parodied it, and how Scary Movie has outlived its expected shelf life. Now, the original is by no means a good movie. On concept alone, it has stood the test of time. It has become the blueprint for many slasher films over the years, like Urban Legend to even Thanksgiving 2 years ago. The newest iteration does little to quell the problems of the original. If anything, it exacerbates them at the hopes of getting a laugh out of it. The newest iteration does little to quell the problems of the original. If anything, it exacerbates them at hopes of getting a laugh out of it. At points, that works. I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 is undeniably entertaining, even at the risk of some serious brain drain. None of the characters make decisions that any real person would make. They jump to conclusions that seem many beats off or just completely illogical. And yet, it is fun to send these lambs to the slaughter, no? Take Tyler, played by model and musician Gabriette. Tyler is a character that is completely contrived for plot convenience. She is a true crime podcaster visiting the town of Southport to recap the events of the first I Know What You Did Last Summer from 1997. She hitches a ride into town with our main protagonist, Ava, Chase Sue Wonders, after hooking up with her at the airport. By the way, what I love about this plot is how directly after Tyler is no longer needed for the plot, Ava goes back to being straight. Tyler's sole purpose, basically, is to lead Ava and friends to Julie James. Beyond that, she is no longer needed. Time for slicing. The thing is, Gabriette plays her as such a loathsome caricature of a person that by the time the danger comes knocking, I couldn't help but find myself donning this very toothy grin and silently salivating at the endless possible deaths she could endure at the hands of our killer. She has this one great line.
This place is so beautiful, it makes me want to die.
Sneering in a way that you can't help but snicker at, knowing her impending fate. Is this movie good at all? No. Not really. It is eye-roll central. It contains the world's stockpile of, oh come on moments. But it's fun. if you're looking to turn your brain off and watch some really annoying people just get wrecked, you're going to enjoy this. I think fans of the original will be satisfied. 2.5 out of 5. All right, so I mean, this was my episode of The Works today. This is the full episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the YouTube channel or subscribe to us on Patreon for exclusive write-ups that don't always make it to YouTube. And stay tuned. And I will see you at the next movie. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and call your congressman. Until then, I'll see you next time.